Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Lopez, and today I'm going to be giving you my text picks presentation on the author, Olaudah Equiano. Before we get into the text, let's give a little bit of background on him. Born in 1745 as to the village leader of Asaka, which is today a second in the number state in southeastern Nigeria. He was the youngest of six brothers, but also had a younger sister. At age 11, him and his sister were kidnapped from this village and sold into slavery, where where he spent some time later on in the British West Indies after striking through Africa, where he was eventually sold off to a gentleman named Michael Henry Pascal, who was a lieutenant in the Royal Navy. Pascal officially changed his name to Gustavus Vasa in commemoration to the King of Sweden, who started the Protestant Reformation in that country. Slave to abolitionist. He served as a valet and seaman aboard his ship and during several major battles, including the 7 Years' War and the Siege of Louisbourg, among several others. He fully converted to Christianity and baptized at St. Margaret's on February 9th, 1959, and was later sent off by Pascal to Great Britain to learn English and to read and write by his favor. Good for him. Eventually, he was sold off to Robert King in 1762 as a deckhand and was eventually offered the opportunity to buy his freedom in 1766 at the price of £40, which, as you can see, is it's quite a lot of money. Okay. But more importantly, he became a central figure for the abolishment of slavery movement in London in the 1780s, and for him befriending many abolitionists, he was encouraged by them to write and publish his story and autobiography in today's scripture, The Interesting Narrative of the Life of Olaudah Equiano, or Gustavus Vasa the African, in 1789. He was one of the many African. He was one of the few African authors to have his book published early, and became a bestseller in 1792 in England. He also had it published in many other countries, all the way from the United States to Russia, and eventually married Susanna Collin in April 7th, 1792, and had two daughters, Anna Marie and Joanna. On March 31st, 1797, unfortunately, he passed away just a year after the death of his wife. Equiano received many commemorations and awards, such as the Equiano Society in London in 1996, which is the blue plaque. St. Margaret's Church tablet in Winchester in 2009, which is the green plaque. But also the Atlas Free Equiano Award in 2025, which is very recent. Alright, to get on with the text. Okay, so it starts off with Olaudah Equiano explaining his culture and the life of Africa before his enslavement. And contrary to what your parents believe, they were not uncivilized or savages. They actually had a very nice components in their culture, which include the religion, tradition, social structure, even laws, even marital laws too, as it was a core of that culture. He then goes on to explain him and his sister being kidnapped by and sold to slave traders. This is the first time him experiencing Europeans, and he does quote that in the text here when he says, "And I was now persuaded that I had gotten into a world of bad spirits and that they were going to kill me. Their complexions too, differing so much from ours, yet and their long hair and the language they spoke uniform to this belief." In his transition from Africa to the Caribbean, he experienced what it was like the life of a slave, and it was very harsh. He describes the horrors of heading to the Caribbean, and it actually became a very important and famous passage for the abolition movement. The closeness of the place and the heat of the climate added to the number in the ship, which was so crowded that each had scarcely room to turn himself, almost suffocated us. This is a very important theme because it explains mostly of the cruelty of transportation and the negligence and the negligence and the little to no care for these people, as they are people. He attacks slavery by showing the hypocrisy towards Christianity when he states, "Oh, ye nominal Christians, might not an African ask you, learned you this from your God, who says unto you, do unto all men as you should do unto you." When he's eventually bought by Michael Pascal and serving time with him, he was sent off to school, as I mentioned before. He was very, very, very looking forward to this. He was very confident in himself. He wanted to pursue literacy as an act of self-definition, and allowed him to contradict beliefs to what Europeans were saying, thinking that Africans were intellectually inferior. As mentioned before, he was able to purchase his freedom by Robert King and became legally free. This allowed him to gain self-autonomy after freedom and experience emotional transformation. He goes on to talk about the abolishment of slavery. As a time of free man, he was able to go around and experience the different sufferings of slave trade and the destruction of families, and showed his disappointment and concern for it. When he states, "Why are parents to lose their children, brothers, their sisters, or husbands, their wives?" He also goes forth with this when he demonstrates his power as a free and educated abolitionist as well. When he states, "When I formed my determination, I went in the midst of them, and then taking hold of the governor, I pointed up to the heavens, and I menaced him and the rest. I told them God lived up there, and that he was very angry with them." To God, every man is equal. We are all children of God. We bleed the same blood, and we should not see each other different. We should treat each other with the same care and respect as we want to be received. So, why should this be included? Well, easily. It has many topics relating to inequality through hierarchy, but also through Christianity, and like some previous scriptures such as A Model Christian Charity by John Winthrop, and Thoughts on the Works of Providence by Phyllis Wheatley. While his work does compare to John Winthrop and in terms of quality based through hierarchy and to society and differences in human value, they have different perspectives. Winthrop sees inequality as a development by God to strengthen society through acts of charity, while Equiano reveals how inequality such as slavery creates suffering and oppression, seeing one group inferior to the other. And comparison to Wheatley, both of them being of African descent, they talk about their conversion to Christianity and receiving proper education, while also including the cruelties of slavery in their writings. How is this related to today's class and today's world, and why is it so important? Big reason: racism, slavery, inequality, still a big thing. Where can I start? Slavery still exists today in the branches of government, and inequality still lives in there as well, along with education and workforce. Demographics of higher education institutions, such as in Los Angeles, such as Cal State Northridge and Cal State Los Angeles, have different demographics. Northridge being white dominant, and Los Angeles being Hispanic dominant. Jail systems as well serve as a type of slavery through forced labor and also loss of freedom, but as a crime, as a punishment for the crime. However, it seems to favor Hispanics and Africans more due to the disproportionate representation. And of course, there has yet to be a female president in the United States. Hopefully we have one soon. And that is my works cited, and that is my work for today. Hope you like, comment, subscribe. Have a good night.